Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be showing you one of my favorite decks to play on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, DarkLords. This deck is so much fun to be able to play because you can summon out all sorts of awesome boss monsters, like the first DarkLord that can even board wipe your opponent. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you combos, replays, and even a full deck profile to show you guys exactly how this deck plays. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's get into the deck overview. So first off, our big boss monster of the deck is actually the first DarkLord. And this card is absolutely insane because it makes it so your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with card effects. And if you use a copy of DarkLord Morningstar to actually fusion summon into this card, it destroys all cards that your opponent controls, which is a broken ability, especially when you summon this card using Greater Polymerization. Greater Polymerization gives your copy of the first DarkLord some awesome bonus effects that it has the ability it cannot be destroyed by card effects and does piercing damage, along with your copy of the first DarkLord's other effect that it cannot be targeted, makes it very difficult for your opponent to deal with because it comes out at 4,000 attack and 4,000 defense points, which is absolutely massive. We also have some great draw power in the deck as well, with cards like DarkLord of Shell being able to discard a DarkLord of Shell, plus another DarkLord card to be able to draw 2 cards is absolutely insane. We also play cards like Allure of Darkness because all of our DarkLord monsters are actually dark, which is so cool. We can also summon out some awesome cards like Archlord Christia to lock down our opponent from special summoning once we made our board, because it's very easy to get exactly 4 fairy monsters in the graveyard, so we can summon this card out to our side of the field. This deck has its own built-in Monster Reborn and its own built-in Rhoda, which is absolutely insane, as you can use twice per turn because cards like Nazden and a Shell and even our other DarkLord monsters have some pretty cool abilities that let you copy your spells and trap cards by just shuffling them back in the deck and paying 1,000 life points, which is amazing to be able to copy our DarkLord spells and traps. So let's get into the combos, guys. So for our first combo, guys, I'm going to show you how strong the Superbia a Shell combo is in this deck. So for this particular hand, we're going to start off with a copy of DarkLord of Shell, Banishment, and Contact, which your copy of DarkLord Banishment can be interchanged with a copy of Superbia to be able to get this combo to go off. So what we're going to do is go ahead and activate our copy of Banishment in the hand to be able to instantly get to our copy of DarkLord Superbia. You can also technically have it interchanged with an Indulged DarkLord, just a way to get to a Superbia. So we're going to go ahead and add our copy of Superbia from our deck to our hand off of Banishment. And once we do, we're going to get a draw 2 out of this hand as well. So we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of a Shell in the hand to be able to discard our copy of Superbia plus a Shell to be able to draw 2 additional cards to our hand. And that's what's really cool about this particular combo is if you only have a copy of Superbia and a Shell in your hand, you can technically draw into the other combo pieces because you get a draw 2. So now we're going to activate our copy of DarkLord Contact to be able to actually bring back our copy of Superbia back to our side of the field, which is awesome. The only thing you have to watch out about this is Superbia is actually a win effect, meaning if it's not the first thing in a chain, it can miss timing, which is a little bit of a downside about Superbia, but this combo actually gives us 2 monsters on our side of the field without even using our normal summon, which is insane. Now we have the effect of DarkLord of Shell to be able to pay 1,000 life points and shuffle back into our deck a copy of DarkLord Banishment to be able to get us an additional search directly from our deck to our hand, which we can search out cards like DarkLord Morningstar. We can search out basically any DarkLord that we want. You can search out DarkLord or Indulged DarkLord. You can search out your copy of Nazden. Depends on what you need. You can just instantly grab it from your deck to your hand, which is amazing, which is just absolutely insane. Because you get a search, you get a draw 2, you get a first search, which is just insane off this particular combo. So there's just so much plussing that you're getting off this particular combo. It's just absolutely crazy. So at this point, what we're going to do is go ahead and link summon into our copy of our Condemned DarkLord, which is an amazing link to that can give us an additional search as well, because this card has the effect that you can actually discard a card and then take a DarkLord monster in deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So we can instantly use the effect of our Condemned DarkLord, discard any card in our hand, which is going to discard a copy of, say, Droplet, because it's a bonus card in our hand, to be able to add an additional card from our deck to our hand, which can be like a copy of Morningstar that we can just additionally grab all of this particular combo. So in this combo, we've gotten a Search 3, a Special Summon 2, and a Draw 2 off this particular combo, which is absolutely broken. Plus, we have the ability to Tribute Summon because of our copy of the Condemned DarkLord by banishing DarkLord monsters from our graveyard. So we can actually use the effect of our Condemned DarkLord to normal summon our copy of Morningstar to our side of the field by banishing our Superbia and our copy of a Shell out of the graveyard. But if you already have something like an Archlord Christia like we do in this particular hand, you can actually lock down your opponent, which is crazy. And I love that about this particular deck, is it makes it so easy to just tribute summon out your Dark Lords to your side of the field because of the Condemned DarkLord, which is such a powerful link to monster to get us a swarm on the board because of the effect of DarkLord Morningstar having the effect that when this card is actually summoned out to your side of the field, if it's tribute summoned, you can special summon DarkLord monsters from the hand or the deck up to the number of effect monsters that your opponent controls. So your opponent has a full board and you just instantly summon this card out to your side of the field. You get to fill up your board with massive DarkLord monsters to help you go in for game. So for our second combo, guys, I'm going to show you how to summon out our boss monster, the first DarkLord, which is actually very easy to do in the deck using Greater Polymerization. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a copy of Indulged DarkLord, any other DarkLord monster, plus a copy of Greater Polymerization to be able to actually go into this combo. So what we're going to do is normal summon our copy of the Indulged DarkLord, use their effect, and instantly special summon a DarkLord monster to our opponent's side of the field, just handing them something like an Ukobak on the field. It doesn't really matter because it's going to get destroyed anyways. So then we're going to use our effect to instantly grab our copy of DarkLord Morningstar from our deck to our hand, which is really cool that you can actually interchange our copies of our DarkLord cards with Banishment, as this deck has a built-in Rhoda. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Greater Polymerization to be able to fusion summon into our copy of the first DarkLord, using our 3 DarkLord monsters to be able to summon out a 4,000 attack point DarkLord monster. And the summoning animation is amazing. So once we summon out the first DarkLord, since we use DarkLord Morningstar to be able to fusion summon into it, we can actually destroy all cards our opponent controls, which is crazy. And the cool thing about this deck is you also have cards like Droplet to be able to board break your opponent, so you're guaranteed to be able to destroy their cards, and cards like Super Polymerization to be able to also board break your opponent, which is insane. And the cool thing as well about this deck is it's very easy to draw into the exact cards that you need to be able to summon out the first DarkLord, because we have such amazing draw power in the form of a Shell and a Lure of Darkness in this build. So let's go ahead and get into the replays. So for our first replay, guys, this one comes directly from one of my live streams where I duel against viewers on Master Duel. And we're dueling up against Silent Arcana. And Silent Arcana is going to be going first, going full combo with Exo Sisters, being able to instantly get to the exact cards they need using that copy of 7th Tachyon, and just swarming the board with Exo Sister monsters, making the first XZ play into Caspatel so they can actually search out an additional copy of an Exo Sister monster from their deck to their hand, grabbing the copy of Sophia. Now we're going to use Stella to be able to actually summon out that copy of Sophia, giving them additional draw, and then going in for a copy of Macallus. Macallus is great because you can search out some of the powerhouse cards of the deck, instantly getting to a copy of Returnia by detaching a material, which is so cool. Now we're going to go into a copy of Magnifica. Magnifica is crazy powerful, being able to banish cards off the field, tag itself out, to be able to go into a different Exo Sister XZ, and being able to attack twice is just crazy. But we're going to be able to actually break this board. So we're going to go ahead and activate Reasoning, which is such a cool card for the deck, as all of our DarkLord monsters have different levels, which is great. Then we're going to go ahead and use the effect in Magnifica to banish our Indulged DarkLord, which is totally fine, as we still get to hand them a copy of Ukobak and grab Superbia. We also have Banishment to be able to get an additional search, but they're going to go ahead and tag out their copy of Magnifica to step back into a copy of another Exo Sister monster in the form of Macallus. So we're going to go ahead and also get our search of a copy of Morningstar, which is basically the key card of the deck. So we're going to go ahead and discard a Shell and Superbia, getting that a Shell Superbia combo to be able to get a draw, but they're going to go ahead and banish our copy of a Shell so we don't have it in the graveyard, which is unfortunate. Now they're going to go ahead, since the card did move out of the graveyard, using Martha's ability, they're going to step into a Soul so they can actually lock down the graveyard, similar to an effect like an Abyss Dweller. But we have a draw 6 in our hand using the ability of our Allure, our second Allure, and we also have the Shell giving us a draw 6, which is insane. This deck has so much draw power, it's crazy. We're going to go ahead and use Nastin to discard both our trap cards, summon out, add a copy of Indulged, normal summon that Indulged, and then go into a copy of Typhon using our copy of Nastin just to get us a monster on the field that's a little bit larger. So we're going to go ahead and swing into the copy of their Makalis and get rid of that copy of Ukabak off their field, so we can actually break their board. But they're going to use Returnia to actually get rid of both of our cards, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we also have the copy of Call By, and I'm going to show you a really cool way to actually use this Call By to prevent us from getting OTK, because we are wide open right now. So our opponent's going to go ahead and use the effect of Martha to special summon, and then go in for an XZ play. And they're going to instantly step into a copy of Caspitel so they can get an additional search using Caspitel's ability to instantly grab another copy of Martha. Now they can go ahead and summon out the copy of Stella to be able to summon out that copy of Martha, giving them 2 more monsters on their side of the field, so they can actually step into a copy of Jabreen, which is going to be able to give them an 800 boost on all their XZ monsters, which is crazy, gearing up for that OTK. Now they're going to go ahead and XZ summon into another copy of Magnifica, and when it touches the field, we're going to use Call By defensively to banish from their graveyard a copy of Magnifica, so we can actually stop the double attack of Magnifica. So they're going to swing in with their copy of Caspitel and their copy of Magnifica, and that Call By actually saved us, so they couldn't get that second attack or tag out, giving us 300 life points left. So we're going to activate Contact to be able to bring back Superbia. Superbia is going to go off to bring back another DarkLord from the graveyard, so we're going to bring back Nastin to our side of the field, and actually Link Summon into our copy of Condemned DarkLord. Condemned DarkLord is awesome because it has the ability to banish monsters from the graveyard, so we can tribute summon, and we're actually going to tribute summon our copy of Morningstar, so we can summon out more DarkLords to our side of the field, summoning out a copy of Indulge to be able to hand our opponent a copy of Ominous, and then being able to send the top 5 off our deck, so we can actually just instantly bring out our copy and get some extra life points off our copy of Morningstar. Use Droplet, drop their attack points down, and swing over, breaking their board, which is awesome that we can actually do that, leaving them in a top deck situation, which is so good. Now they're going to go ahead and actually, in the turn, gain 1,500 life points off our copy of our Condemned DarkLord, because we can draw 3 fairies, and they're going to top deck Aratama, giving them full combo again. But we have an awesome trap card in the graveyard in the form of Uprising. Uprising has a great ability to actually let fusion summon, and since we had our copy of DarkLord Neargal on the field, we can actually copy its ability by putting it back in the deck, stepping into the first DarkLord, and on the resolution, we board wipe their field because we actually use DarkLord Morningstar as a fusion material. Now, if we can get 1 more monster on the field, we can actually win. We top deck Reasoning and activate Reasoning to be able to look through our deck and actually summon out a monster, and we only have maybe 1 monster left. But it's really insane how this actually plays out. So we're going to start milling cards off our deck, and we're going to get down to the very last card, which is Archlord Christie, having 0 cards in the deck, and swing in for game, winning the duel, which is insane. This duel is so cool, and I'm so glad I get to duel up against viewers and live streams. You guys should definitely come hang out in them. So let's get into the next replay. So for this replay, guys, I'm actually going to show you how DarkLord can beat Malice. So what we're going to do is go ahead and activate our copy of Banishment, since we are going first, to add a copy of a shell from our deck to our hand. Use a shell to be able to get a draw 2, top decking a copy of Christia and Uprising. Normal summon out a copy of Indulge to be able to give our opponent a copy of Ukabak, so they actually cannot imperm us or evenly match us, which is great. Then we're going to summon out our copy of Nastin and be able to shuffle back our copy of our Banishment back into the deck, so we can actually add a card to our hand, step into a copy of SP, and then summon out Christia, because we have exactly 4 fairies in the graveyard, adding our copy of Indulge back to our hand and setting Super Polymerization. Now, where our opponent is going to go, and they're going to activate their field spell, banishing our copy of White Rabbit, not realizing that they cannot bring it back because we have Christia on our side of the field. Then they're actually going to negate it using the effect of Malice in the Mirror, but we can actually instantly go Super Poly, breaking their board because they've used basically all their starters at this point, stepping into a copy of Mud Dragon. Now we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Nastin, switching our monsters into attack position, and now we're going to change our copy of our Mud Dragon into light so it cannot be targeted and their opponent cannot target our copy of Christia, swinging in. We're going to pass back over to our opponent, and our opponent is actually going to draw and then just set a card and pass back over to us. And we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, drawing into a droplet, going immediately into the battle phase and swinging directly at Christia. Christia is an extremely effective card, making it so our opponent cannot special summon, and it's the perfect answer to Malice. So let's get into the next replay, guys. So for this one, guys, we're going to be dueling up against Blue Eyes, and this is going to be a crazy duel because we have Reasoning. Reasoning is so good in this deck because all of our Dark Lord monsters have different levels, so it's very easy to summon out a monster. We also have a Lure of Darkness to be able to draw to, and we pick up another copy of Reasoning, but unfortunately, we actually top deck a Shell, and a Shell can only be special summoned once per turn. But we do have Banishment to be able to add Indulge Darklord to our hand, so we can normal summon it out to our side of the field, and hand our opponent a copy of Ominous, picking up Morning Star. We're then going to activate a Shell to be able to put our copy of Banishment back and add a Shell to our hand, so we can actually get a Draw 2 off of a Shell's effect, which is crazy powerful, setting 2 and passing over to the opponent. And once our opponent goes, they're actually going to have one of the most powerful Blue Eyes normal summons, which is actually going to be the Primate Dragon, getting their copy of Lordly Load to the field. They're going to go ahead and link it away to be able to summon out the Blue Eyes Link 1 monster, which is going to help them get to their Blue Eyes field spell, which is awesome for them. But we have something crazy in store for them. So they're going to go ahead and activate the Blue Eyes field spell. We're going to activate our copy of a Shell to be able to put our copy of Uprising back in the deck and fusion summon into the first Dark Lord. And since we have our copy of Morning Star, we also get a board wipe, which is going to be insane. So we're going to summon out our big boss monster to our side of the field, and it's going to instantly board wipe the field, which is awesome. But Blue Eyes is going to keep playing, activating their copy of Wishes to discard a card and grab Majesty and Maiden from their deck to their hand. They're going to go ahead and set a card, which is probably Majesty, activate their copy of Maiden, and then get to a copy of True Light so they can actually get to Bingo Machine Go. They're going to activate Bingo Machine and then instantly reveal 2 Blue Eyes and a Jet Dragon in their deck, adding a card to their hand. Then we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Roar to summon out a Blue Eyes to their side of the field. They can also use the effect of Maiden to bring itself back to their side of the field as well, since they summon Blue Eyes, but we have Super Poly, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So we can actually summon out a copy of Mud Dragon to our side of the field. And at this point, our opponent really doesn't have anything left, and we win the duel, which is crazy. So let's go ahead and get into the deck profile, guys. Now I've showed you guys how powerful this deck is and how it can beat Blue Eyes and Malice. Go ahead and give us a like on this video. But let's go ahead and get straight on into the deck profile. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Dark Lord Ukobak. Ukobak is great as a 1-of in the deck, as this card is basically a walking Foolish Barrel when it's summoned to your side of the field, helping you get the exact Dark Lord card you need into the graveyard. But its best use, because it only has 700 attack points and 1000 defense, is actually summoned to your opponent's side of the field using Indulge Dark Lord, which we play 3 copies of Indulge Dark Lord in this build, as it's the best normal summon in the entire deck. Indulge Dark Lord is awesome because this card has the ability when it's normal or special summoned to your field, you can actually special summon a Dark Lord monster to your opponent's side of the field and then add a Dark Lord monster from your deck to your hand, which is an awesome ability to actually hand our opponent something like a copy of Ukobak because it has low stats, and then it actually prevents our opponent from activating cards like Evenly Matched, Imperm, and even cards like the Cashier monsters being special summoned to their side of the field since they control a monster. We then play a single copy of Ominous. Ominous are copies of our Nastim and our copies of a Shell, and even Neargall have the abilities that if you have a Dark Lord spell or trap in the graveyard, you can pay 1000 life points, copy its effect, and then shuffle it back in the deck, which is absolutely amazing when they're on the field. But your copy of Ominous has a really cool ability that you can actually discard this card and a Dark Lord card to target a Dark Lord card in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is an amazing effect to instantly grab the exact card you need out of the graveyard. We then play 2 copies of Nastin. Nastin's a great extender in the deck that you discard 2 other DarkLord cards to special summon this card from your hand, which seems like a lot to be able to summon out this card, but it also helps you get your DarkLord traps into the graveyard and your other DarkLord monsters to help you control the cards in the graveyard so you can summon out your copy of Christia, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of DarkLord Zerato. DarkLord Zerato is great in the deck as a 1-up because this card has the effect that if you have 4 or more dark monsters with different names in the graveyard, you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 dark monster. And also, it's kind of like a walking Regeki, as it lets you send a dark monster from your hand to the graveyard to destroy all monsters that your opponent controls as well. But once per turn during the end phase, if you activated the effect, you destroy this card. It doesn't come up all that often to use its effect, but it's still pretty good because it does come out at 2,800, and it's another DarkLord monster we can play in the deck just in case we need a board wipe. We then play a single copy of ArcLord Christia. ArcLord Christia is insane. You could probably play 2 copies of it, but I really like it at 1 in the deck because I see it when I need it. And this card is really exactly 4 fairy monsters in the graveyard. You can special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field. And if it's summoned this way, you get to target a fairy monster in the graveyard and add that target back to your hand. But the big effect on this card, as you guys saw in the Malice replay, is it makes so neither player can special summon monsters, which is absolutely broken, just to lock down the board. Also, if this face-up card would be sent to the field to the graveyard, you get to place this card on top of the deck instead, which is a great effect so you can use it all over again. We then play 2 copies of Superbia. 2 copies is enough in this deck, and this card has the ability that when this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can target a fairy monster in the graveyard, accept a copy of Superbia, and special summon it back to your side of the field. The only downside of this card is it is a win effect, which means it can miss timing if it's like the 2nd or 3rd attempting in a chain, so it will miss timing, which is a little bit of a downside. And also, it will miss timing if you activate something like a shell to be able to shuffle back in the deck your copy of Contact to be able to bring this card back to your side of the field. It will also miss timing then as well, which is a little bit of a downside to this card, but it's still really good in the deck as a 2-out to be able to basically activate your copy of Contact to bring it back to your side of the field, and then bring back something like a shell as well. And also, it's the best target to send to the graveyard off a shell's effect to get you a draw 2 to set up your plays. We then play a single copy of DarkLord Nergal. This card is really good as a 1-up in the deck. It makes it so your fairy monsters do piercing damage, which is pretty good to be able to do. Plus, it comes out at 2,700, which is massive. We then play 3 copies of a shell. A shell is absolutely insane in the deck as a 3-up, as this card is the ability to actually discard this card and another DarkLord card to actually draw 2 cards, which is absolutely amazing to help you dig in the deck for the exact cards you need, especially with cards like Allure of Darkness also giving you a draw 2. We then play a single copy of DarkLord Morningstar for the final monster of the deck. This card is really good because if it's tribute summon, you can special summon DarkLord monsters from the hand to end or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls, giving the ability to swarm the board with a bunch of different cards onto your side of the field to help you swing in for game. But the only downside of this card is it cannot be special summoned. It also has the ability that while you control another DarkLord monster, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and once per turn you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of DarkLord monsters on the field. If you do, gain 500 life points for each DarkLord card sent to the graveyard, helping you get more cards in the graveyard so you can bring them back with cards like Contact, which is really good. Now you might have noticed we don't play hand traps that are monsters in this deck, and we've gone for more of a board breaker build, and that's actually because of reasoning, because we don't want to hit cards like Maxi or Ash Blossom with reasoning. We want to summon out cards like Indulge DarkLord or copies of a shell instead, so we play cards like Super Poly and Forbidden Droplets. So then for the spells, we're playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. You can honestly probably drop this card because we do play 3 copies of DarkLord Contact in the deck, which is already kind of a Monster Reborn with the deck, but it does give us additional utility to be able to bring out additional monsters back from the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Reasoning. It's insane that we have this card at 3. Hopefully eventually we get this card at 3 in the TCG, but this card is amazing as a 3-up in the deck, as your opponent declares a level between 1 to 12 12 and you excavate cards from the top of your deck until you hit a monster that can be normal summoned or set, and if it has a level, you get to special summon it to your side of the field, which is amazing. And if it's not the declare level, so if your opponent says level 12 and you actually excavate a copy of a shell that's level 10, you get to special summon it to your side of the field, which is amazing. And you send the rest of the cards you excavate to the graveyard, which helps us get our DarkLord spells and traps in the graveyard, which is amazing. Plus, this card is not once per turn, so it's definitely a 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is amazing because it gives us the ability to draw 2 cards and then banish a dark monster from our hand, which is awesome to be able to do to help us dig in the deck, especially with cards like a shell, also giving us a draw 2. We have 6 cards in this deck that gives us draw 2s, which is amazing. We then play 3 copies of Banishment of the DarkLords. Banishment is basically Rhoda for the deck, but it lets you add any DarkLord card from your deck to your hand, meaning you can also add cards like DarkLord Contact, which is amazing. But this card is amazing as a 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of DarkLord Contact. This card is a monster reborn with the deck, letting us target a DarkLord monster in the graveyard and special summon it back to our side of the field, which is great to actually bring back our copy of Superbia, and then Superbia will activate and bring back something like a copy of a shell. Then we can use the shell's ability to shuffle back our copy of Contact so we can get an additional monster reborn, giving us 3 monsters on the field, which is insane. But just by bringing back Superbia and another DarkLord monster, it gives you the ability to go in for a Link 2, which is crazy, crazy powerful. We then play 2 copies of Greater Polymerization. Honestly, you could probably play this card at 3 and drop the copy of Monster Born down to 0, playing a 3rd copy of this. This card is so good in the deck because any 3 DarkLord monsters with this equal your copy of the first DarkLord, which is awesome to be able to do. But this card lets you use 3 monsters to fusion summon, and it actually has the ability that if you fusion summon, you actually get to have the ability that your monster gains the effect that it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and it does piercing damage as well, which is awesome with your copy of the first DarkLord because it comes out at 4,000 attack points and it already cannot be targeted, which is so good about Greater Polymerization. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization, which is really cool with Indulge DarkLord because you can actually hand your opponent a DarkLord monster, giving you 2 monsters on the field automatically to help you fusion summon, but it also is really good in the deck to be able to use to break your opponent's board. We then play 2 copies of Call By just to stop your opponent's hand traps, 3 copies of Droplets, which is actually really cool because your copy of Condemned DarkLord is actually what's on the card artwork along with Nassim, so it's very on theme with the deck. But this card is really good for the deck to basically just use this card to break your opponent's board, negate their effects, and half their attack points so we can swing in for game. For the traps, we're playing a single copy of Rebellion. Rebellion's great because this card is basically a pop, and also you don't have to pay the cost for this card if you actually shuffle it back in the deck with cards like a shell, which is really good, but it just gives you the ability to pop a card on the field. We made a single copy of Uprising. Uprising is amazing to let you fusion summon into your copy of the first DarkLord, which is absolutely insane, and you can even copy this card's ability during your opponent's turn with the effect of a shell, which you guys saw in the Blue Eyes replay. But this card is really good to basically just help you step into your copy of the first DarkLord, which is insane to be able to do. For the extra deck, guys, we're playing a single copy of Mud Dragon and a single copy of Grua. These cards are basically just super poly targets, along with our copy of our Dracos Tabela. Dracos Tabela is great because this card is a walking negate, and it's really good to be able to actually use with your copy of Super Polymerization. We play 2 copies of the first DarkLord. First DarkLord is amazing to be able to play with your copy of Greater Polymerization. It's basically our big boss monster of the deck and has the ability that your opponent cannot target fairy monster control card effects, and you only use one of the following effects this card once per turn, with the ability that if this card is fusion summoned using your copy of your DarkLord Morningstar, it has the effect to actually destroy all cards your opponent controls, which is crazy powerful just to board wipe your opponent. Also, for the second effect, during the main phase, quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon a fairy monster from your hand or the graveyard in defense, which is a pretty good ability because you know you're going to have fairies in the graveyard when you actually summon this card out. It takes 3 materials to actually make, so you can bring back something like a copy of a shell to your side of the field, which is really, really good. You can lay a single copy of Zeus to board wipe the field, a single copy of Typhon because it's basically a skill drain for 3,000 higher attack point monsters and a bounce, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps, 2 copies of Condemned DarkLord. Condemned DarkLord is so good in this deck. This card has the ability to actually tribute summon fairy monsters that require 2 tributes by banishing 2 monsters from your graveyard instead of tributing, and it still counts as a tribute summon, so basically you can pay the cost for tribute summoning by banishing materials from the graveyard, which is pretty good. And also it has the ability that you can actually discard a card to take a DarkLord monster from the deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard, which is great to grab any of your monsters that you need. This card is also great because once per turn during your end phase, you get to gain 500 life points for each fairy monster on the field, which is great since our copies of a shell and the different monsters that we have, even the first DarkLord requires to pay 1,000 life points. This card helps you get them back, which is really nice. My single copy of Herald of Mirage Light, it barely comes up. You could probably play the BLS Link monster instead if you want to, but it's really good to be able to play in the deck because it is a walking negate. But again, it doesn't come up all that often, but it's a pretty good option in the build. With my single copy of Verte Anaconda, Anaconda is great because it can copy the effect of greater polymerization, help you step into your fusion plays, but again, it doesn't come up all that often, but it's a great option when it does. With my single copy of the Dark Charmer is great to be able to play in the deck because it helps you bring back a monster from opponent's graveyard so we can link climb. Then play a single copy of SP. SP is basically a double interruption in the deck. And then finally play a single copy of Underworld Goddess, which again doesn't come up all that often, but it's a great option in the deck because you can summon out a bunch of monsters to your side of the field using Morning Star, and then bring out this card just in case you need to basically out of towers like Boss Monster. And it's a great option overall. Something I would maybe add to the extra deck is the BLS Link monster for dropping one of the cards in the build, maybe a copy of the Zeus. You can play more Super Poly targets if you wanted to, depending on the format. And also another card is maybe an IP. You usually don't want to end on IP. You usually want to end on your copy of Condemned, which is why I didn't play it. But you can maybe drop Phoenix for a copy of IP if you want to. Maybe drop Zeus for the BLS for just a couple of additional thoughts on the deck. But overall, really good. Again, maybe play a third copy of this over the copy of the Monster Reborn as well if you want to. But that's another option for you guys. But overall, amazing deck. It functions really well. I really like this build because it's very consistent with the copies of Reasoning to summon out monsters to your side of the field, because all of your DarkLord monsters have different levels from 10 to 8 all the way down to 7 and even 6 and 4 and 3. So there's all sorts of different levels that you have in the deck to basically just use your copy of Reasoning. And it also helps you get your spells and traps in the graveyard, like your copy of Uprising, Rebellion, your copy of Banishment, and Contact, which is awesome, so you can copy them with your different DarkLord monsters effects. But overall, that's going to do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. If you guys want to see more videos like this of Master Duel content, definitely let me know what deck you guys would like to see down in the comments down below. These videos are super fun to be able to do, and if you guys have not checked out one of the live streams or actually duel up against the viewers, you definitely should, which is actually where that Silent Arcana replay came from. So that's going to do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.